Hi, we're Ralph and Lahni DeAmicis, and we'd like to introduce you to the astrology you'll find in the 2022 Planetary Calendar.
Yes, this is actually, we think, the 72nd edition, or maybe the
74th.
74th. Oh my God, how it flies when you're having fun. Started in 1949. Now, the forecasts, we actually started doing those, I guess, about 20 years ago, adding a forecast to the calendar on top of all the data. But whether you are a novice or you are an advanced astrologer, this is a calendar that will give you the information that you will find useful in your daily planning and in your long range planning. Now, 2022 is a really interesting year. We had done a forecast back in 16, a 5-year forecast out. And we actually said it was going to take till 2022 until things kind of settled down and the world got back on track again. And it was a long wait. 16. But it seems like it's working out that way. And we actually, at the beginning of the 2022 calendar, which has the planet Uranus on it, if you notice it spins on a different axis than the other planets. Instead of being upright, it spins more like a football. So that's why it appears to be sideways. At the very beginning of it, we have a peek ahead, a snapshot of the coming year. And one thing which we point out really is that, most of the major planets, the outer planets, don't change signs except for Jupiter. Jupiter goes from being in Pisces, which is one of its ruling signs, so it's a very positive sign in a mystical kind of way, and then it enters Aries. It starts the new cycle. And this is a big shift because right now, as of 2021, Pluto, Neptune, and Jupiter are all in the last signs of the zodiac.
Right.
They're all from Capricorn out to Pisces, and those last signs finishing things up. And then in 2022, Jupiter, the guy in the striped suit, the plaid
right?
suit, pops into Aries, the sign of like new beginnings and hope for part of the year. Then he backs back out again into Pisces and then pops back in and goes like, he does this little two-step in the course of the year. So the year is going to have that kind of like, whoa, what happened here?
A little bit of a seesaw effect in
A
the
little
early
bit of a
part.
seesaw effect, especially because these are two powerful planets. It's ruled by Jupiter, and the Aries is ruled by Mars. But the other major planets, they don't change signs in the course of the year. Now,
Well, and think about that, like you said quickly, that's an indicator of a new beginning, a new cycle. And so that seesaw effect, you may get a little start in one direction and then go back and think about it again and then get a reboot.
Now, a lot of the first part of the year is actually going to be winding up stuff from the previous year. Not a big surprise. But one thing that's happening that's very interesting is we do our major forecast for the year based on the Chinese New Year. It's the most celebrated holiday of the year. It's when all the energy draws back down into the earth and it starts the new seed cycle. Okay, and this year it takes place on January 31st. Okay, at that time, compared to most years, the sun energy is quite restricted, but this year it's going to be especially restricted. So as we pass through that period of time, people are going to really feel like, oh, I really want to hole up in my little rabbit den and, eat carrots and stay safe. But after that point, it's going to improve. And one of the reasons is that at that time, I think it's easiest just to read it. While external energy levels will be low, this allows the angelic frequencies that communicate with your higher self to shine. This is like lowering the lights to make it easier to see the colors of the aura. Take the time to really see and listen. So even though you may feel more restricted, realize that your higher energies are very active at that time and take advantage of that because it helps you. The more you get in touch with your higher self, the better you are able to listen and follow, those that are trying to help you. Now, interestingly, it's a very feminine year. A lot of planets in feminine sign. Women are really going to take the lead this year. You're going to see a lot of women in leadership positions. So be aware of that. The work from home movement is not going to lose steam. In fact, I think it's going to get stronger. And realize that in terms of women's rights, the work from home movement is really powerful because a lot of the issues that women deal with have to do with harassment in the workplace.
Well, and on the other side of that also is women working from home. It solves the daycare issue as well.
Exactly, and the family responsibilities, because many times it's also the women who have to take care of the older generation that have now retired or maybe need additional help. So it's going to be a very powerful year for women. Now, Uranus has been in Taurus for a while, and so a lot of these big climatic disruptions we're seeing, that's right from Uranus in Taurus. Also, disruptions to the money system, Bitcoin and such. This is Uranus and Taurus. Also, how we have redefined beauty. Have you noticed that since Uranus has been in Taurus, we've redefined beauty? Uranus turns things upside down, and Taurus is the sign of beauty. It's a Venus-ruled sign. So these things are really continuing along because Uranus and Taurus is very strong this year thanks to aspects from the other major planets. Until Jupiter, until May, Jupiter is going to be in the sign of the mystic prophet coming from the wilderness. This is right from the calendar. Sharing a vision of healthy oceans and a harmonious earth. But everyone will be too busy to listen. But when Jupiter enters Aries and knocks over that busy beehive, suddenly everyone is paying attention. Then Jupiter backs into Pisces in November, and those visions will seep into our collective dreams and help us to manifest those helpful possibilities.
He does wax poetic at times.
Well, and I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful for 2022. I think things are really starting to crystallize in the correct direction. Now, realize that while you definitely want to get the calendar, you can either get, the big version, you can get the medium version, you can get the baby version, the pocket version, which is actually very popular. We also make the day planner as well.
That's the Saturn version, where you can organize yourself and take care of your appointment scheduling and things like that.
And there's also a digital version that will work on your phone or on your tablet. So we have it in lots of different versions. But just because you have the calendar doesn't mean we kind of cut you up. You got to have all the information you need. No, we do weekly forecasts through our YouTube channel, Planetary Calendar Astrology, that we release every Friday for the coming week. Just looks at the calendar and it uses, when you look at the calendar, you'll see there's these little day blocks. The day blocks have all the important information in them. They are actually key to the forecast, which is at the top, and our forecasts look at that week and the important day blocks in that week to kind of guide you through, so when there's going to be turbulence or things are going to be smooth. So when things are going to go really well, you can plan for that. And when it's going to go difficult, plan for that too.
And if you'd hit that like button, if you like us on YouTube, that will really help us to keep bringing those forecasts to you.
Exactly. Now, on Tuesdays, for those of you who want to learn more, we do astro portraits.
I think they're such a great learning tool because, when you're learning astrology and the more charts you look at, the more you understand the dynamics of the planets in those charts. And when you know something about the native of that chart, like you do about the popular people that we do these portraits on, it helps you get a handle on an interpretation of those aspects. And of course, if you don't need the study aid, you're not a student anymore, they're still very interesting and fascinating, and we love to bring them to you.
One thing that we put in this year's calendar that was not in last year's main calendar, that was in the day planner, are our health tips. Lahni and I are both master herbalists and naturopathic physicians, and so we put a little health tip in for each month based upon what's going on energetically and how it's affecting people.
And how about the little feng shui tips?
Oh yes, there's little feng shui tips in there, and there's a whole thing on what's called our terror maps, because we lecture extensively on feng shui.
Most people don't realize that feng shui and astrology are integrally related. And we kind of brought that out or exposed that in a system of learning that we taught in our programs to train astrologers to understand feng shui at a deeper level.
Yes, and there's also a whole series of quotes.
I love those quotes. They're so fun.
One of my favorite is, "Behind every great man is a woman rolling her eyes."
Jim Carrey.
Yes. Which were a huge amount of fun putting those together. So I think you'll find them a tremendous help this year as you go through this very interesting year we have ahead. And by the way, if you are coming up on a multiple of 12, 12, 24, 36, and so on, 48, those are your Jupiter returns. And so it means with Jupiter going through Pisces or Jupiter going through Aries, that means a good year of growth for you. So, don't waste it.
And 2022 is a 6 universal year, 222. It's got a 22 in there, and it's a 6, very social year. Find your community. So very different than the little chaotic year the year before, which was a number 5. So we're looking forward to 2022, and we hope you do too.
See, I thought that 2 was going to be a very romantic year myself.
Well, if it distilled down to a 2.
Exactly.
But you think every year's a romantic
That's true.
year.
That's true.
And since we're in the 2000s, they all start out that way.
That's true. One of the reasons it's such a good year for women.
That's true.
So
That's true.
come back and see us on YouTube. Come visit Planetary Calendar Astrology on YouTube. And also you can visit planetarycalendar.com to find your calendars. And make sure you order early because we do run out.
Wishing you good stars.